People who work at 5-star hotels. What type of crap goes on that management doesn't want people to know?
We don't want you to know that the people who stayed in the room before you were freaking nasty. Housekeeping gets the brunt of it. I've seen them carry out bags of used sex toys, peel used condoms off of every surface, and scrub crap. Actual human, presumably, crap, off places there's no reason for human crap to be. The worst, though, was the couple that wanted a home birth but not, at home, because gross. We had to deal with that hazmat situation. Frick them as hard as we could with penalties and fees though.
A lot of lonely people going on vacation to end their life. Happens a lot but is never mentioned on the news.
Lots of prostitution and all the drama, legal trouble that goes along with it. Corporate functions like conventions, parties, etc. where there's an open bar almost always leads to something fricked up happening. One hotel I worked at hosted a Christmas party for an investment firm and two guys started jockeying for the affections of a female coworker. They all wound up on an elevator together and the guys started fighting. The elevator went into safety lockdown. We had to call the PD and the FD. One guy went in a squad car. One guy went in an ambulance. We had to give the woman some clothes from Lost and Found because his dress was covered in blood and the elevator was out of service for 6 hours to clean it up. There's always a ton of back-of-house drama, too. Especially among the execs and the junior managers. Affairs, backstabbing, a little light fraud. The usual.
Worked in 5-star hotels in Beverly Hills. Boy do I have stories. Sheikh picks up a hooker in the bar, takes her to his room. She roofies him and steals tens of thousands of dollars of cash, watches and valuables. Husbands who will say hello to staff with their mistress on their arm on Thursday night and their wife on Friday night. Famous teen celebrity left a room full of needles and various drug paraphernalia behind for housekeeping to clean up. Middle Eastern royalty ships in multiple Ferraris and Lamborghinis to the hotel from their home country to drive for the week. Caught drag racing later that night by the cops in the neighborhoods of Beverly Hills. Largest checkout bill I've ever seen was roughly $2 million for guest who rented out an entire floor of suites for 3 weeks, promptly paid via wire transfer. Had to procure $100,000 cash for a guest whose wife wanted to shop on Rodeo Drive the next morning. The local bank doesn't even have that much. Had to get an armored car from the Central LA Bank branch to deliver. The list goes on.
I don't work in one anymore, but used to. This isn't really shenanigans, but the staff is not nearly so impressed by famous or rich people as some of them seem to think we should be. It was a fancy hotel. We had rich and famous guests all the time. And it was usually the ones nowhere near the top of the ladder who tried to be the most imperious and expected the most deference. If you have to try to convince us you're high status, you aren't. We'd provide polite, professional service for all our guests and try to be helpful and accommodating. But being a C-list actor or whatever isn't going to get you a table in a full restaurant or an upgrade to the already occupied fancier suites. And if there's a severe blizzard and the airport is closed, we can't open it for you because you're too special to have to wait to fly out. Even if you're a very important businessman.
As part of our training as bellmen, we are to ask open-ended questions to the children to make sure they aren't being used for sex trafficking when bringing in luggage to dad and daughter types. My dad works in security in the same hotel, so he often gives me a heads up if the guest with the child is already under suspicion regarding their behavior at the front desk for check-in. It rarely happens, but hotels are the breeding grounds for sex traffickers. This blew up. Thank you for the rewards to those that found my insight helpful. The questions vary depending amount of information security and the front desk tells the crew. Has this guest ever stayed with us or any other of our different umbrella hotels? What events are currently going on in the hotel? Was the child uncomfortable upon entry? Looking down, crying, silent, dirty clothing? Lines of questions try to get the child to speak in general, as many traffickers take in children that don't speak English. Otherwise, questions about their stay get directed at the child instead of the guardian. What adventures are you guys up to here in Chicago? Is your dad here on business? We crouch and say if they would like to help the bellman work. Most kids love the experience. We usually crouch down and try to make eye contact. If I can't definitively tell security that the child is 100% comfortable in their surrounding, or if the guardian tries to lead the child away from me deliberately, security gets an internal investigation going. My dad has given me confirmations of arrests made of guests that I had attended to. Summer is a hectic season, and it happens more than you would like.
What goes on the room next to you? This week we evict and have arrested a couple for causing over $15,000 in damages to a room. This was done quietly late at night and the nearby rooms never found out.
Dead people. In some places there's a reasonable chance somebody has died in your bed. Obviously it varies with the type of hotel and its clientele, but some places you get deaths weekly. Not that the hotel is unsafe, but unfit old people overexerting themselves. One place I worked, maybe 40% of the beds had been died in. Bedbugs. They happen in every hotel. You might be paying $5,000 a night, but your luggage was in the hold with everyone else's. If there's only 1 or 2 bugs and none in the adjacent rooms, diamond style, so above, below, and both sides, then you brought them in. You know what I never saw happen? Maids stealing. Everyone always points at the maids when they lose stuff, but we always found it. No way the maids are risking their jobs over your used iPad or mall jewelry. With tips they make pretty decent money.
Watching for signs of sex trafficking. Lots of cheating spouses there under fake names. And you can't confirm if they're there when the spouse calls pissed. Jacuzzi and swimming pool deaths. Usually from alcohol. Guests expose themselves to female staff frequently, especially housekeepers and room service. People will legit give you keys to their rooms, sometimes dealing with really crappy organizations for their banquets, income, etc. One cool thing is that you can buy pillows, mattresses, etc. from many hotel brands if you really enjoyed your sleep at a hotel.
Never trust glass in rooms. GRA are so stretched thin on time that they will clean the glasses with the same rags they clean the bathroom. After all, their goal is to make the room look clean. I worked as a GRA in a 5-diamond for years, and there was over a year period that went by where we didn't get a clean glass delivery. We didn't have dishwashers in the room, so management was complicit. This was in a 5-diamond, one of the top resorts in the world. Never trust glass in hotel rooms.
I used to work events at hotels, and one time we had a guest break their wine glass inside a water refill barrel. I left work for 2 weeks to go on vacation, and when I came back, all the glass was still piled inside the water refill barrel. People must have been drinking out of it because there were events booked while I was gone.
We don't bat an eye at prostitution or whatever goes on in the rooms as long as it doesn't affect other guests. Half the women that come to the bar are working girls looking for a sale. The only thing that the hotel industry ever really reports is human trafficking. There are telltale signs, and if something doesn't add up, we do report it to local authorities. I don't know about all 5 asterisk hotels, but I'm sure this happens at most of them. Front desk, reservation staff will basically stalk you online if you're a notable VIP, and your picture will be shared internally to ensure everyone recognizes you, so you feel special when you arrive and everyone already knows who you are.
Coke. Lots of Coke.
The scale. Management wants things to be automatic for you. A person there when you need them and every item you could need, before you need it. But the scale of that is purposefully hidden. For example, you see your housekeeper. You might see that there are 5 other housekeepers on that floor, a houseman per floor and a special request delivery person, if you look closely. You don't see the 4 to 6 desk workers manning the radio so that we know when to enter certain rooms, who want special pillows, how we manage the 3 rooms that all want service at 1 p.m. or replacing rooms that asked for no service. You don't see the 6 supervisors spot-checking checkout rooms for cleanliness. Nor do you see the laundry teams, plural. Sheets and guest laundry are separate, and guest is split into dry cleaning and non-dry clean. You might see the public parlor attendants, but you probably won't see the team cleaning the pool or deep cleaning the gym sauna. At 7:30 a.m. every morning, the service area just explodes with activity, like you kicked 2 ant nests at once. 60 housekeepers on a single shift? Guess it's a slow day. And that's just housekeeping. We have 3 industrial-scale kitchens for various purposes. 4 if you count pastries. Security teams. Contact companies for large events. Teams of engineers in every specialty. I don't even know where the IT office is, but we do have one. I'm one of the more knowledgeable on where to find items for special requests, and I still find new storage rooms every other week. We found a 1930s printing press nobody knew we had. It's freaking wild how many moving parts there are. Flipping 500 rooms in a day while setting up for 2 $1 million weddings simultaneously. Fulfilling 100 room service orders while catering those weddings while running our restaurant. Fixing a leaky shower head in the pool while ensuring a guest had an extra couch in their room for the kid that just loves couch beds. All of this together is called an average Tuesday in summer.
Worked at the high-end restaurant at a ski resort that hosts a famous film festival. Lots of sex in the walk-in coolers, but never the people you'd want to walk in on.
I wrote travel guides to places in the Middle East, Dubai, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, etc., and have stayed in lots of 5-star hotels around the world for work. The whole 5-star system is murky from the start. The manager at a top-class London hotel told me that the hotel grading system in general is utter nonsense. The problem, he said, is that the list of criteria to reach each of the star ratings is little more than a tick sheet, albeit with around 500 factors to consider. For example, one criterion for being considered 5-star is fresh flowers being present in guest rooms. But there's a huge difference between a big ornate display of orchids and a bunch of daffodils. The presence of either would technically tick the box, and in theory you could fulfill all the required 5-star criteria yet be hugely inferior to the hotel next door that offers all the same things but at a much higher quality and standard. The Forbes travel guide gave just 6 London hotels a 5-star rating, including the one my insider works at, but that means that fantastic hotels like the Ritz, the Langham, the Berkeley, and Mandarin Oriental Hyde Park are only 4-star. Are they really 20% inferior to the 5-star rated Al Bustan Rotana in Garhawad in Dubai, which is basically a business hotel near the airport? It's also difficult to maintain a consistent roll call of criteria, as modern demands change. For example, Wi-Fi in the room is a relatively recent expectation, and what we expect as standard has changed over the years, so what constitutes luxury now has altered accordingly. When Savoy Hotel in London opened 1889, it was boasting about features such as electric lifts, speaking tubes to link each floor, and fully plumbed bathrooms. Now though, in the era of internet, crowdsourcing is often the most reliable way to judge somewhere. When hundreds of people on sites like TripAdvisor say a place is overpriced and terrible, then it doesn't matter what the official book says. And if a 1-star hotel gets nothing but praise from 90% of the people commenting, there's your consensus of rating right there.
Didn't work at 1, but delivered newspapers to 1. The prostitution thing was something the desk saw a lot. The best one was when the gentleman got robbed by 2 young ladies and immediately demanded the front desk call the cops. When the desk asked if he wanted to call the cops and tell them he hired 2 hookers, illegal, he suddenly just grunted and marched up to his room.
That those balls of butter come pre-made, frozen in a plastic tub.
I was a valet in college at a very swanky resort. The members had a certain sticker on their car and the owners, partners have a black sticker, which I had no clue, but knew they belonged. When a guy pulled up in a very nice Benz, I said, "Welcome back," not knowing his name. He was so pissed that I didn't know who he was. He was an ass to me, but I couldn't care less. Moments later, another younger guy pulled up to valet and asked me what the guy said to me. I hesitantly said he was mad I had no idea who he was. The young guy looked disappointed and said, "That's my father and he is in a $dollar hole. Don't worry about him at all." Then he gave me $20 to park his car and was extremely nice to every employee who ever interacted with him.
When we see Instagram influencer on your booking, we roll our eyes.
Here's one taken from the opposite end. I'm really bad at rolling joints. I left the crappy joint with my stash and papers on the dresser. I come back to a nicely rolled joint. I don't know if any was missing. But thank you, Hard Rock LV staff.
I'm reading these while laying in a hotel bed and I don't like this.
I worked at a Ritz-Carlton a few years back. It's literally the same as anywhere else. The hotel staff is amazing at their job, but on their personal time they're just as fricked as everyone else. The kitchen staff had a few folks with drug issues and had to be sent home a couple times because of it. In my time there I saw 2 waiters get fired due to embezzlement. The turnover rate for management was very high because they didn't pay enough for the area. The staff parties were wild to say the least. We weren't allowed to greet celebrities by name since they wanted to be anonymous, so we would use their alias that day. Some were greeted by prostitutes or escorts, who were always super nice to everyone. A regular would rent out a room for a day, once a month, and make 30 to 40K that day from clients. Celebrities, business guys, you name it. Crazy.
My so worked for a fancy hotel. The building owners, not the chain, the actual building itself, came to visit. He was on the Forbes billionaire list. He was a nice man who had buffet lunches every day and tipped every staff members he saw a crisp $100 every time he saw them. Housekeeper walking past, $100. Bartender setting up, $100. Shift swap, $100 on the way in and out.
Bedbugs. Every single hotel from rundown motels to 5-star resorts has dealt with bedbugs.
I spent 10 years in the boutique and 5-star hotel world. Got stories for days, but here is my favorite that sums up hospitality, former anyways. Our concierge was Les Clef's door, had all the connections. This dude could get you into the French Laundry same day. He would often greet guests with sangria and sprigs of mint from his garden. Sometimes he had lemon slices from his tree too. He loved to tell guests all about his garden and they ate it up. Yeah, that's all bullcrap. Mint, lemon, and any other garnish we got from the local grocery store. The sangria? Cheapest boxed stuff we could find. But he sold the story like no other. At the end of the day, it worked.
The sheer audacity of the secret Uno tournaments that go down in the basement.
Bed bugs are actually a big issue for hotels, including 5-star hotels. Look for the signs and check every time you get to your room. You do not want to bring them home with you.
Never ever ever, I repeat. Use a chocolate fountain from a hotel or banquet hall. Picture this. It's an expensive-ass Sunday brunch. Well, little Timmy just double-fisted strawberries directly into that chocolate, bit into both strawberries, then triple-dipped into the chocolate again. And some old rich lady just sneezed on it, and somebody else just dropped their snack into it. The best part. That chocolate gets strained and saved for the next week's brunch. Chocolate is way too expensive to throw away. Chocolate also does this thing where it'll seize if it has the wrong moisture content, from people dipping fruit, and the juices going into the chocolate. So it'll get so thick it won't run through the machine. Wanna know how they fix that? They add canola oil until it's smooth again. So, yeah. Next time you're at a wedding and they have a chocolate fountain, think of this post. Think of this post when you dip into that dirty ass watered down with oil chocolate.
I'm a subcontractor that works in the IT business, and the W Hotel in Miami Beach has seen some crap. One day I come into work and there is a big scramble at the upper floors, that is with a penthouser. Seems this kinda known millionaire had a little too much coke and God knows what else and was destroying the room. He was actually throwing furniture out the balcony, ripped everything out of the fridge, might have even thrown a mattress out the balcony. It was a big deal at the time, but they keep it hush with no police involved. A guy that's paying $9K 13K a night is not going to be arrested. When the team finally got into the room, there was cocaine all over the tables, bottles everywhere, and a couple of high-class call girls that were in true fear. Next day they booked the same room to Jennifer Lopez.
I have worked at 2 hotels that are rated by Forbes, formerly Mobile, and randomly inspected frequently, and there is a very specific checklist of things the hotel restaurants must offer in order to keep their rating. We always had to be suspicious of any single diners because they could possibly be inspectors. So you could be a regular Joe Schmo, but if you are dining alone you are going to get the 5-star treatment. Once we had a particular woman staying at the hotel and somehow management figured out and confirmed she was an inspector. They literally took security cam stills and printed them out to give to all employees so we would know who she was. I still remember her name was Katrina Tears of Joy. Something else interesting. One of the 5-star restaurants I worked at, in a 5-star hotel, would frequently be closed for private events. There was usually a contract written beforehand stating the group must spend a minimum amount of money. We got automatic gratuity on whatever that minimum was, but the goal was to go over so we would make more money. The people at the events usually didn't know these details, they weren't the ones paying, and towards the end of the night if they hadn't reached the minimum we would have to start pouring the most expensive wine and liquors to meet the goal. Who wants a few rounds of Macallan 25 doubles etc.? And people still tipped cash on the open bars, so it was easy to walk away with $500 a night in tips after those parties. It was the easiest money I ever made. ETA. Macallan. Ha. Please forgive me, I am a lowly tequila drinker.
We don't give a crap about your backstory. Check in, be polite and don't be an asshole. We want you to have a good time and a good stay, but we don't need to hear about everything that's going on in your life. We don't care. There are celebrity guests and rich people. Please don't bother them. They are only going to return if you don't bother them. They are here for a reason. The reason in most cases is to be left alone. If you book direct and not through a third party, every online site, I can do a lot for you as far as rates and comps. If you book third party, I really can't do crap for you other than give you a room. I can give you the same rate as a third party if you book direct, and there's a lot more perks. Most higher-end clients book direct. We have them on file, we know them, we have their credit cards on file and we go out of the way for them. If you book third party, we flag you. We try and keep the restaurants and housekeeping up to above board standards, but sometimes we shortcut because you're being AD at the front desk and rushing us through everything.